Somehow, someway, they made a new Subspecies movie in the year 2023. The last one was back in 1998. That's 7 Halloween movies ago. But here we are one last time for the origin story of Radu. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Come on, Charles, we got to get another movie going. It's been 20 years.
But longer than that, but 25 years between movies. Much like Hulk Hogan, who kept coming back long after he should have retired, Subspecies came back for one more movie in the year 2023. That's right, the movie we were about to talk about. Yeah, it came out this year, this very year. Subspecies 5.
Eligible for the best of list.
I mean, eligible. Technically, yes. Based on quality, I don't think so, Tim. This is Subspecies 5, Blood Rise. I don't know who was clamoring for the legacy sequel, or I should say, legacy prequel of Subspecies. Basically, I think they just said, you know what? Like, who's to say that Radu wasn't already pretty old when he became a vampire? Like that could be alright. That could be how it worked.
You know what? To be fair, it worked on us because probably wouldn't have been doing the franchise if there wasn't a new movie out this year that I wanted to see.
What's this us? There's no us here. There's no it worked on us. It worked on you, and then you made me watch these things.
Hey, you still watched them, so.
So, yeah, this movie's made in 2023, and it is clean digital shot. It is the only movie, bizarrely, that's in 2.35, you know, the anamorphic, you know, lens. It's wider than the other movies. It's weird watching a Subspecies movie in this quality. It's very, very bizarre. But it is a prequel that tells the story of how Radu came to be, how he became a vampire, and some of the stuff that kind of links up with the other movies. It's very weird. The director of those original movies came back as well, so that's the thing.
Yay.
Yeah. You know, I gave up doing like a spoiler-free section on the last one, so I guess there's no point in doing one for this either. I'll ask the question first, and like we can get into it. But Tim,
yeah,
what did you think of Subspecies 5?
I mean, I guess if I'm being kind of generous, there was some somewhat interesting things in here, I suppose. Definitely some unexpected stuff. It probably left me with a lot more questions than answers. Not just in terms of like, oh, well, like they're adding this new wrinkle, like, does it make, like, yeah, I have questions about it, but also just like, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like, I'm no subspecies expert, but I feel like this doesn't fit in the continuity. But I mean, we'll get there. I guess it helps that, yeah, I watched this right after watching the fourth one, which, you know, spoiler alert if you haven't read that or watched that review, but was not a big fan of that one. I will give this the kind of bare minimum compliment of I think it is slightly better than that movie. So that's something, but
it's slightly better than that movie you gave a 2.5.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm still not crazy about it.
It's just so boring, Tim. Like,
yeah.
I hope you like people sitting around campfires talking about the same shit that we're talking about in the previous movie somehow. Like, I hope you enjoy that, because that's what you're getting a lot of in this.
Well, I mean, at least we do get the origin of the fan favorite characters from the last movie, Ash.
Joseph's bad, Tim. I watched 4 earlier today, which introduced the character of Ash, who's like the vampire son of Radu. And I still did not make the connection when I watched this one that this guy was meant to be the same character until... And I think it's because I don't think I ever caught his name was Ash in the fourth movie. I think that's what it was. And it was like this realization, like when I was looking at the names for the fourth movie, I'm like, wait a minute. This is the guy from the fifth movie. Oh no.
I mean, in this movie they make it seem like such a big deal, like it's like we're finally giving him the, we're showing you where he came from, but it's like, I don't know, did anyone care about him in the last movie? I guess, I mean, we're not gonna do it, or if we do it, it'll definitely be a while, but he has like his own spin-off movie. Like, I don't know if you looked at that, but there's like there's a spin-off from the Subspecies franchise. How's it called? Like, it's called like Vampire something. Not Diary. That would be too.
that'd be a copyright issue there.
There's so Vampire Journals. So, not Vampire Diaries. Vampire Journals. Vampire Journals is a spin-off of the Subspecies film series featuring the vampire Ash. But that came out in 1997, and Bloodstorm came out in 1998. And isn't that the one that introduced Ash? Was he introduced in Vampire Journals first? I don't know.
I guess they did. They did his own movie first, and then tied it into Subspecies.
Oh, hoop-dee freaking do. So I mean, now you find out his deal in this movie. I guess he wants to be a musician or something. Yeah, I don't know. There's at least more memorable stuff than the last movie. So again, like I'll give a little bit of credit for that. And there's a few funny things here and there, but yeah, still not a great movie.
Tim, I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
Where
Hit me, Daddy.
were the freaking subspecies?
Yeah.
The subspecies have not been in this franchise since the opening of the second movie.
Yeah, and like we've been pretty hard on this series so far, but honestly, like I could see it getting bumped up like a whole 1, maybe even 2.5 points if they would just have little subspecies running around and causing mischief and stuff.
There's even a montage in this movie where Mummy Radu is teaching him how to use all the magic that comes with being a vampire like him. And you see like the shadow of what might be one of those blood demons, but you never see it.
Yeah.
I was like, if they just showed him using them for the first time, I'd be like, okay, extra full point, just for showing some interesting effects or something. But no.
All right, now here's where I show you how to rip off your fingers and make a subspecies.
Why was that the southern man voice?
Because I can't do the mother's voice. I
feel like this movie is just a convoluted prequel mess, and what I mean by that is that it wants to do all these different parts of the story and somehow make them all fit together into like, this one coherent backstory, but it just makes you stop and go, but like it feels like the characters are meeting because they run into each other, but they're actually connected through like their emperor father, who something, which by the way, Prince Vladlazaz, right, the father, who I guess becomes Angus Scrimm, who by the way, Angus Scrimm at the start of the first species or subspecies movie, he's like a pretty tame like guy who doesn't want to kill anyone, and he's like he doesn't want Radu to have power because he knows Radu is going to go on a killing spree. And
this is
movie,
not that vampire.
Yeah,
like, this is a very different character.
This guy is a bloodthirsty, just like monster. And interesting, weird bit of trivia is that this is actually a returning actor. This is the guy that played Mel in 2 and 3. It's in the makeup. Okay. Yeah, I just noticed it on IMDb, and apparently he was also in Friday the 13th Part 7, which is obviously his best movie.
Oh, okay.
Because Friday the 13th Part 7 is better than all the subspecies movies, and it's not close. It's not even close.
Not that many people like 7, but I kind of dig it. It's definitely not.
It's grown on me a lot. I also really love Part 8, and everyone hates Part 8. 7's really grown on me as well. So honestly, I think 6, 7, 8. It's a great little run.
100% agree. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're if we're getting into spoilers already or whatever.
Spoiler warning. We're doing spoilers for subspecies. No one gives a shit.
So
there's nothing to spoil. Yeah. Nothing happens.
So I mean, yeah, but like this was like a big question I had though is this his father Vladislav or whatever? Like, is that supposed to be the same father in the first one? Because yeah, it feels so different, and also he kills him at the end. Like,
honestly, I don't even know. I genuinely don't.
Yeah, I don't know, like but I mean, if it's so weird though if it's not the same character, because then it's just like, all right, did the guy that wrote and directed this just not remember that he has a father in the first one that's very different?
And also, like, he's born, like, so the vampire, because when we say he's Ash's dad, we just mean that he sired him, right? So he talks to him like he's his son. But this Vadladas, the prince, he actually like impregnated a woman, right, who gave birth to Radu. And I think Radu's mom's not a vampire; she's more like a witch or something. Like I don't know. It was unclear, right? But we saw her in the second movie and the third movie. We know she exists, so she's here. She's a bit younger, whatever. And at birth, he's stolen by Crusader. This is how the movie starts. It starts with this woman giving birth, standing up. She shits him out, and then Crusaders come in, knights come in, and steal the baby because there's a prophecy that the son of Prince Vasladas will grow up and slay him, right? Very quickly cut to adult Radu, who's a knight himself, coming in to help slay the monsters of evil or some shit.
And he appears to be a spry 75-year-old.
Yeah, no, he's so old. Oh, right. And when
I'll give a quick compliment. Like, you know, this first 5 minutes of the movie, I was kind of on board, because it's like, you know, this seems like it might be so batshit crazy that maybe it'll be like a fun cheesy time.
And it looks
it's
so much better than the last couple that it's like, okay, maybe this will have enough going for it. And then
like
they start talking around the campfires, and it all just.
But really, like, to dig into it, like, it's opening up with this like crazy like witch looking lady in a cave who gives birth standing up to this cute little Radu baby. I like the baby, but yeah, it does look like a little demony vampire thing, and then like you said, the monks kidnap him, and then it's like this weird scene where like they're like pulling out his like fingers and like cutting his ears, and you're like, what the hell are they doing? And like they're rubbing ointments, and like, yeah, they made him look human. And it's like, okay.
What? Yeah, they never really explain what he is though. Like, what is he? Like, he's not a vampire because he was born, right? You know, via the whole semen and the uterus and all that shit, right?
Yeah, like no other vampires look like him. Like he always looked like weird.
Right? So he's born, so they say he's different and they make him look human, but then he seems just to be human until he's bit by a vampire later and becomes a vampire.
Yeah.
So I don't like, it's very unclear exactly what he is before that point, other than just being the son of some evil monster. Yeah, he's very old. That's what he is.
Which, like, I don't want to discourage him. I'm sure he's probably doing very well for his age, but it's just so funny in this movie where like he's supposed to kind of be treated as like this very badass, like kind of sexy knight, and it's just like, you just look like an old grandpa.
Yeah, like, I mean, his performance is fine. He still knows how to do Radu.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
And that's basically the standard. I mean, don't get me wrong, the minor characters in this are nowhere near as bad as the ones from the last movie. Like, the major characters in the last movie were terrible actors. Here, they're not great, but they're more acceptable-ish, I guess.
I didn't want to say it in the last episode, but Anna Lazar is a patron, so probably should have went a little easier on her.
Okay, sorry, Anna.
We like your other movies.
What other movies are you talking about? She's never been in a movie before. I don't even think Subspecies 4 counts as a movie.
Yeah, I'm sure she's still living off those royalties.
All right, you've got me curious now. I'm going to go back to Subspecies 4 time, and I'm going to click on Iona Abur, who plays Anna Lazar. She's in. Oh, we've seen her in something else. Multiple things. Oh, this is do you know what? Maybe she was doing like an accent, and that's why she was so bad. Maybe she was, struggling with the, yeah. Wait. Oh wait, no. Wait, no, she is because she. Hold on. I'm very confused. It's saying yeah, she was in Watcher from last year.
Oh, okay.
Right. Obviously, she would have looked different because it's much more recent.
Yeah.
She was also in that. I never saw it, but or I think I saw part of it. That Kiefer Sutherland movie Mirrors. That was like a remake of a Korean movie.
Oh,
And
we should watch that. It's really bad.
No. And here's the smoking gun. In 2005, she was in Hellraiser Deader.
No. Oh, Anna. Honey.
Also, I just want to say, I gave Tim shit last episode for thinking the fourth one was called Subspecies The Awakening. To be fair, on IMDb for me, it does say The Awakening, but on the service, it said Blood Storm, and that's what the start of the movie said for me. So clearly, The Awakening is an alternate title. So just to correct that from last episode.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yes, so this woman has been Hellraiser 7, Subspecies 4, Mirrors, and Watcher.
Well, we love a scream queen. You know, what can we say? She's a horror royalty as far as I'm concerned.
She was Katya in Hellraiser Deader. I don't know who that was.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Don't know who that is. Shut up. Ah, dear. She's about halfway down the list, so I don't know if it was a prominent character. Anywho, that's that for our
Well,
little
it's fun, you know,
dive.
the versatility of an actor to be able to portray so many different roles. You love to see it. The magic of movies.
Very good.
The sound of cinema.
Anyway,
the heart of the film.
Anyway, I'm trying to tell you what happened next time. The Radu, he's with like one other religious guy, and they're looking around trying to kill, I don't know, demons or vampires or some shit, and they run into it's not Michelle, it's the actress who played Michelle, but the actress who played Michelle is in this movie playing Helena, who is the vampire that sires Radu. She's the one who makes him a vampire.
But at first she's like, oh no, I'm not a vampire, and then she's like, yeah, I'm kind of a vampire.
She does say that, but she already has a son, right? Who she claims she was forced upon. She was raped by Prince Vasladaz, right? And this is Stefan. And you all remember fan favorite Stefan from the original movie, Radu's brother.
All coming together.
Here's the thing though, like I never brought it up when we were talking about 4 because I couldn't remember where it was, but there's a moment in 4 where they incorrectly say who he is. They say Stefan was something else, and I'm like, no, he was his brother. That's one of the few things I remember about that first movie is he was his brother, but they said something else in 4 and I can't remember. It came up briefly, but anyway, so we get little kid Stefan here, and Radu, who's human at this point and he's not evil, is like, oh no, like I can't kill this. The other really says, oh, she must be a monster, you have to kill her, you have to cleanse this place of evil. And Radu's like, no, I cannot, like we must protect her, we must, do right by them, they're to be saved. So they leave the castle or the palace, whatever it is they're at, with them, and they travel through the woods, through the fields, they sit around a campfire. She tries to thank Radu for saving her by whipping out her tits and saying, I could do anything for you, Radu. You know, I mean, she doesn't actually get them out, but she sort of like opens her cleavage up a bit and is like, whatever. And he's like, no, I'm a soldier of God, I cannot do such a thing. Although the very next night, he does just kind of give in and starts kissing her. So I guess that's how strong his ideals are.
I was like, man, the moment we've all been waiting for, geriatric Radu sex scene.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, obviously, this actress, Denice Duff, who's playing Helena and was playing Michelle in the previous movies, like she's also aged 25 years, although she doesn't look anywhere near as old as Radu does. She looks maybe,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe early 50s, mid 50s, something like that.
Yeah, she's looking good.
She looks good for her age. Yeah, she doesn't look bad at all. Whereas Radu's got nothing but grey hair and he looks like an old man. So,
again, it's just funny because like if this if this was a sequel, not a prequel, it wouldn't even be that big a deal to me. But it's just funny that this is the prequel. Like, yeah, well, he technically is younger.
The thing is, though, as a sequel for this franchise, it would be a problem because they're supposed to be immortal and not aging.
That's true too. But then, you just some bullshit you could say like he hasn't tasted from the bloodstone in so long that without the bloodstone it ages you.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, yeah, Helena has the bloodstone on her.
Yeah.
That bloodstone.
I think this is the first time that we find out that it has the blood of saints, which you'll hear again and again.
No, Tim, they brought this up in the first two movies for sure.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's the only thing we learned about it, Tim. So I remember that well.
They say it quite a bit in this movie.
At one point, when he realizes she's a vampire, I think he pulls out his sword, and then little Stefan wakes up and he pulls out a sword and says, "Don't hurt my mother." And then Radu just immediately calms down and goes, "Oh, don't worry, we're just having a discussion. Go back to bed, Stefan." And then that's it. There's like no more tension. Like nothing comes of these scenes. It's basically 15 minutes of nothing. The other religious guy goes away because he doesn't want to be near them. But other than that, nothing of note happens for like 15, 20 minutes until Michelle just tries to seduce him. Or sorry, not Michelle, Helena tries to seduce him again. And pulls out the bloodstone, and she sucks on the bloodstone and says, "Yeah, I feed on this because it's, it's this blood without hurting people. It's the blood of the saints, and it's great. Here, you should have a taste." And there's this weirdly erotic scene where she's like shoving this bloodstone in his mouth, and Radu's sucking on it like a teat. Like, and it's just like really weird and like erotic, but in a creepy way. And then she bites him and she's like, "You know what, you're my savior and I want you to be my lover forever, so I'm going to bite you and turn you into a vampire." And she just does. And that's one of the big problems with these movies is there's no like she just says she's going to do something. He doesn't even try to stop her. She does it happens. Typically in a movie you set up character's going to try and do something, and here's the obstacles, or here's the other person resisting said thing, and then who's going to win, and what's the consequences of it. Things just kind of happen. It feels like, because at first I thought, oh my god, are we just going to do 80 minutes of him building up to him being bit and becoming a vampire? Luckily it wasn't that, but I can't say what happened after was that much more interesting either.
No, it's so disappointing because again, like, you have some crazy stuff going on in the beginning that kind of sets you up like, okay, maybe this is going to be different, maybe it is going to be a little better than the other movies, but like you said, it just so quickly devolves into the same bullshit. It was just a lot of people sitting around talking at one, they're talking in like a, I don't know, looks like a cave or then a hut or then a campfire or whatever, and it's just all the same stuff, like, oh, blah, blah, the bloodstone's great. Oh, yeah, I should get one of those bloodstones. Like, oh, yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Like,
right after she turns him into a vampire, right? She feeds on him, then cuts her wrist and has him drink her blood. Immediately, Prince Vasladaz, Radu's dad, shows up and says, "This woman and child belong to me, as does that bloodstone. I'm taking them back." And he takes them, right? So Radu is left to just become a vampire on his own. But then Mother Radu shows up, and it's like, "No, I will train you to be the ultimate tool of evil," or some shit. And there's a literal montage of them in a cave where she lives, of her teaching him how to use the shadow form and how to summon demons and shit like that. And you don't see any of it. It's all just kind of like him standing doing poses, and you see the odd shadow. But it's very, very like minimalist, and you never feel like it's minimalist for an artistic reason. It's always minimalist because they can't afford to do anything else.
Yeah.
And that's the real problem. And we just jump ahead at that point. I don't even know how many years. And he's just like, he's basically monologuing in narration, saying, "Oh, I'm so lonely. I think of Helena every night, and I want a partner. I want people that I can confide in, that isn't my mom, blah, blah, blah." So he just goes looking for victims and finds a brother-sister duo of musicians who are in the city performing their music and not making a lot of money off of it. And they get taken to like it's like the storeroom of some guy's like building to sleep in because they can't afford a room at the inn. And Radu shows up, and this is Ash and his sister. What was her name? Ariel. Which Ariel was never mentioned in the last movie, funnily enough. That's odd. Yeah.
Unless she was in, and maybe she had a part in Vampire Journals, I don't know, but...
Oh, maybe she did. Yeah, maybe that's why they've set up the sister here. Maybe like she was in that movie and died before the end or something. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, it's not like Ted Nicolaou, who wrote, directed, and edited this, clearly cares about the continuity of his franchise that he's done all the movies of. But Radu basically lures them out and bites them. There's not really much to it. He takes them to his little den and he keeps them captive there. And they're very upset that they're now vampires. And he's like, no, you're going to stay here and I'm going to teach you how to be vampires. And you won't be given freedom until you're committed to being my vampires. And not only that, to be my playthings, to be my children. And he just brings them victims and we get multiple topless women that they get to bite. And that's a whole montage in and of itself. And this was where the movie started to really annoy me with the allegiances and who was on whose side was really starting to flip-flop constantly. It was like, oh, they're starting to feel like they're his allies and like being his like proteges, and then it's like, no, they're still fighting him and want to try and escape. Oh, but they're one of them sticking up for him and the other one isn't. Oh, but now that he's given them instruments, they're going to fight back. Like it was, I was having so much trouble just knowing how these two characters feel about being with him now. Do they still feel like they're kidnapped victims? Do they still want to get away? Do they actually worship him like a master now? Like what? It was so hard to tell. It felt like every single interaction they had was pointing in the opposite direction of the last interaction.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how much this franchise kind of repeats like the same problems over and over. Like, because we were talking about the last one, how I felt like there's different storylines where it's like bouncing back and forth between these characters, and it really feels like, yeah, it does a great job of coming together. I guess this one is a little better in that respect, but it still feels like disjointed when it's like, all right, yeah, maybe the whole movie we're gonna focus on this relationship with Radu and Helena, but then it's like, oh no, let's put that on hold while we skip ahead a bunch of years and bring in fan favorite Ash and Ariel into the mix, and then it's like, all right, so I guess this is gonna kind of be the story now, and then it kind of like, oh well, now we're gonna go back and like, check in with like some other characters now, and then like, Helena comes back and Vladislav is there for a little bit, but it all just feels so disparate and like just disjointed or whatever. Like it's just this franchise just never pulls things together that well.
I mean, it all just feels like they're stalling for time because they need to get to 8 minutes. Like we've said, like I think all of these movies could probably be turned into like a 20-minute short film each, and they'd all be okay with some good direction. I think the way Helena comes back out of the plot is so coincidental and contrived as well, because the siblings escape, right? They get away from Radu, and Radu says in narration that it took him 300 years to find them. He's been looking for 300 goddamn years. And he tracks them down and he catches them like feeding on a victim, and he's like, I found you after all this time. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, Radu, but we have a new master now. Like, we can't just go with you. And he's like, take me to your master. Right? And would you believe it? The master's Helena. And because in this 300 years, because he's still kind of like the old man just with vampire teeth before, but in this 300 years, he's kind of pivoted to looking more like Radu from the other movies, right? He's got the makeup on, he's starting to, you can tell he's older under the makeup still, but it's more akin to what he's going to look like. And Helena doesn't even recognize him. She's like, who are you? Do I know you? And she's like, I'm Radu, I saved you, you young grateful bitch. And she's like, oh yes, Radu, yes. And immediately she's like, yeah, like I wanted to spend eternity with you, blah 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 blah. Well, we're at a bit of an impasse here because I seem to have taken your two vampires here. And they send them out of the room, and she's like, hey, how about this? How about I keep the boy and you can have the girl, and, I'll share the bloodstone with you. And they're basically making a deal just to kind of coexist effectively. And, like, that seems to be kind of working for a bit, but obviously... I'll be honest, Tim. I don't remember how they end up in the big fight with Prince Vasladaz, which comes after this.
And
And I just watched this. I finished watching this movie right before we came out to record. So this is really telling that I can't remember this part.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit earlier in the afternoon for me, but I mean, I still watched it today. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think, it's like you said before, like things just happen. Like it's not like there's like good lead up or anything to it.
Yeah, they end up all fighting and yeah, because that was the thing. Yeah, so underneath where they're living just now, Radu's dad, Vasildaz, is actually sleeping with the sword that can kill him, because it's a special sword called the Demon Slayer or something like that, that's sticking into him. So he goes down, he pulls out the sword, and much like Helena, the dad doesn't recognize him. He's like, "Who are you? You've resurrected me. Tell me who you are so I can give you, rewards and things." He's like, "I am your son, Radu," and then he stabs him again, and just stabs him repeatedly, implying that he's dead. Like, I don't know how he's not dead if it is the same dad as the start of the first movie.
I mean, it really seems like it's not, because of the attitude and the looks, and the fact that he's dead. Like, that's all. It's also different. But then, it just does beg the question, who would Radu be answering to then after this? Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. Why would there be a father figure in his life? It's kind of weird. So, anyway, Helena and him end up fighting, and Radu decides to kill her by twisting her head around like 3 times until it's, about to snap off. And while her head's been turned around 3 times, and this is the only thing that ties into why is the same actress playing this character as Michelle, is she says with her dying words that "I curse you, Radu, that after I'm dead, I will be reborn and haunt you forever." And that is the reason why they've cast the same actress, or what their justification is anyway, is that Michelle in the later movies is, like, in some level the descendant or reincarnation of Helena to torment Radu. And that's why he's desperate. In hindsight, that's why he's so determined to get her as a bride, and she keeps betraying him. Doesn't make any of that satisfying, but that's what they're saying here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily change that plot from the original movies for me, but I do remember, thinking in those movies, like, oh, it is kind of weird that he's so into this girl that he, like, just met, But again, no.
I just remembered what happens to Ariel and why she's not in 4. Because it ends with her dying.
That makes sense. That would be
because I completely forgot this. Yeah, so before he goes to Helena, a random like vampire hunter, but who is actually also a vampire, but is a vampire hunter as well, shows up and tries to kill Radu, and he kind of like fights her and gets away. This same vampire hunter with a hood up shows up at the very end of the movie after they've come out of the crypt, and Ariel's basically pledging her allegiance to Radu. She wants to spend eternity with him, and Radu's like, "Yeah, great, pledge your allegiance to me, blah blah blah." And then just after she does this, the vampire hunter chick shoots her with the crossbow and kills her, and she's dead.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, and then Radu kills
forgot about that.
Yeah, kills the vampire hunter, and the movie ends with Radu narrating saying, "Many years later, the image of Helena would haunt me," and you see a clip of Michelle drinking from the bloodstone from one of the other movies, and then the credits roll, and that's it.
Dear Lord.
Like, can we just point out that 10 minutes ago, we couldn't remember what happened to a character in this movie at the end, even though it was the ending. I remembered, like, the hunter showing up and killing someone, but it didn't click that was Ariel until we got to that point talking about it, and we legitimately were confused as to why she wasn't in Subspecies 4. If that doesn't tell you how forgettable this movie is and how hard it was to pay attention, I don't know what will.
No, it's the same old bullshit. Even stuff that like should sound pretty cool, like you were saying, when he kills Helena and he's like twisting her head around, like you hear about that, like, oh, like, yeah, he has to twist her head around, he has to do it like multiple times and stuff, and like that sounds like it could be a cool scene, but like even that was like kind of boring, like watching it, like it just wasn't very interesting, and like the way he was kind of like doing it was like very slow and just dull, unfortunately.
Yeah, and even the fun factor of watching him overact as Radu is like diminished because the first half of the movie he's not that yet. You know,
Yeah.
like he isn't really acting like that until the last third, and you know, by that point there's only so much movie left. I mean, I'm glad it was over quick at that point. Don't get me wrong, because I was not enjoying any of it, but like even one of the guilty pleasure elements of the franchise just was kind of absent for like at least half of the movie.
Yeah, man, like on the one hand, like it sounds like it should be more fun because this like movie's adding so much like bullshit lore to it, which is usually not a good thing, but sometimes like in a fun cheesy movie you might be like, oh my god, like it's so crazy the stuff that they're doing or whatever. But yeah, again in this it just doesn't ever seem like that interesting, or like you don't really care about the characters enough to ever justify some new thing that's added or whatever. Like I don't care when him and Helena have a falling out, or when Ash and Ariel like start to get pissed at them, or like all that stuff is just so like who cares when you watch it. It just kind of glazes over you.
Yeah, it's a movie that is made as if people really care about Subspecies like lore and continuity, and I don't like I can't imagine that even people who saw all these movies back in the day because they were guilty pleasures and because they just collected sort of these types of trashy direct-to-video movies or whatever, I can't imagine even those people were like clamoring for like a return to the franchise, and even if they were, like would remember enough of the plot details from the previous. Like we just watched them all in the last few weeks, and like there's hardly anything worth remembering in most of them.
It's tough. Yeah.
It's such a rough time. Yeah, it's repetitive. It goes in circles. It doesn't have any big money moments really, and even like I don't know. In some ways, I almost want to like be harsher on this one, because you'd think after 25 years, like some lessons would have been learned, but nothing is better. Like it's just as poorly paced and poorly scripted as it was before. And yeah, I don't know. It's like it annoys me when you go to see a new Star Wars movie and they expect you to care just because it's Star Wars characters. Imagine the gall of doing that when it's like, oh, they expect you to care because it's subspecies characters.
Yeah.
It's wild. I don't know. Like we almost considered just squishing 4 and 5 into one episode, and we didn't. But like part of the reason why we felt that way is because we knew there wasn't going to be that much to talk about with each of them, and we're definitely struggling a bit more with 5.
Yeah, even though like it seems like 5 does have like more crazier stuff in it, but yeah, like when you sit down and actually kind of put the stuff in order, it's like, oh yeah, the few crazy bits here and there are just quickly surrounded by lots more dumb bullshit scenes that are just
and there's just
boring.
so much like talking. Well, we said that, but like there's so much convincing someone. So there's a scene, for example, just to sort of show what I'm talking about here. There's a scene where Radu's brought Ash and Ariel a woman to feed on, right? He's had a bite himself, and he puts her down, and I swear it takes like 3 minutes to convince Ariel to take a bite. Like he's like, take a bite, child. You will feel better. You will, feel all your pain will go away. Like it takes so long to convince, but there's no actual like tension because she's going to. Like it doesn't, because she wasn't a character before she got bit. Beyond just being a little scared that some guy that looks like Radu was watching her. There's nothing to like, you don't care about her losing her humanity because she wasn't a character beforehand. And some of them are even less of a character in that. Like, I mean, take Helena. Like, she spends the first like 10 minutes of her screen time pretending to not be a vampire, but she actually is. And then when she does become a vampire, like, I guess she like is happy to be away from Vasilistad, but she is a vampire though, so why does she want to be away from him? I just don't think it ever really gives you something to really like latch on to and like root for. Like, Yeah, I mean that's a good example. Who you rooting for? Like who you rooting for in this movie?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess like Radu is a star, but yeah, I mean, he's also been such a piece of shit in the other movies. Like, that's why I kind of thought that 4 would be more interesting, because it seemed like they were trying to kind of do that thing of like, all right, yeah, what if like Radu's bad, but then what if we introduce some other vampires that are like also shitty that he has to fight now, and then also Michelle might be going to his side, so what if they team up and stuff. So it almost seemed like they're trying to be like, oh, like maybe we'll make him more of the like anti-hero kind of star or something, but yeah, they never end up actually fully going with that. Yeah, he just always ends up being the villain, and then yeah, same thing in this one. Like, I guess at first you're kind of like, oh man, like yeah, Radu's like doing this cool stuff where he's hunting down people or whatever, and he's a badass warrior guy, and then but yeah, like after a while he just becomes Radu again, and it's like, well, he's a bad guy. But I don't know, everyone else sucks too. This is yeah, I don't know who you're supposed to be on the side of in this one.
Yeah. Oh well. What are you rating Subspecies 5, Tim? Put us out of our misery. We're finally done with this franchise. Rate it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's better than the last one, but the few scenes that are like kind of cool or interesting here and there don't really make up for a lot of the boringness of the other stuff that's around it. And then, like I said, it's almost unforgivable, like how forgettable it can be. Like, I mean, we've been watching a lot of movies this month, and I know, heck, I'm very tired. But if you watch a movie the same day, like, you shouldn't be forgetting, like, the parts here and there. But I don't know, it really is a struggle to kind of get through it some of the time. Which, I mean, hey, it would make marathoning this franchise really tough.
Oh, it'd be a nightmare. I mean, I even Subspecies 4 on its own, like, I paused and took break. I watched it like 3 half-hour chunks because I couldn't focus on it for any longer than that. It was too painful.
But yeah, I mean, that being said, I'll give this a I guess just a 3. It's
okay.
Yeah, still not good. I don't know, a few things here and there I like, but overall it's kind of dull.
Yeah, I'm also going to go a 3, which is also what I rated the last one. I think 4 had more things to like in a funny bad way. It didn't help it that much, but it did have some of that early on. Whereas this one, I think, it's almost like more unforgivable just how dull it is. Like, they've learned nothing. You'd think in 25 years they'd have more ideas to go on, but it really is just that crappy prequel thing of going down a checklist of explaining all of the things that come up later in the movies. Let's try and explain them all, except not actually really explain them. Just kind of like have them mentioned, like reference all these things, but without any kind of like satisfying lore to really bring them together or make it exciting. But both movies are pretty dull and boring. So, honestly, the whole franchise is pretty dull and boring. And I think, yeah. So, there you go. That's Subspecies 5. If you've seen it, I doubt it, but if you have, you can let us know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe.
Feel free to rank the franchise if you want.
Oh, jeez. You can ding the bell for notifications, and of course hit the like button because it does help more people find the channel, more people find the reviews. If you listen to the audio podcast, hit the 5 stars on the review section of iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. But the main thing you can do to support everything is go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us over there. Get some extras, including bonus episodes on a monthly basis, and of course, other things here or there as well. So, other shows have bonuses. It's worth doing. Go and have a look. See if you're interested in getting more Mail Fuzz movie content. Alright, that's us. That was a horrible outro because I'm exasperated. I don't know what else to do.
It's been a very long month.
It's been a long month, and this was a tough movie to talk about. It's probably the shortest review we've done in years at this point, but you know what? is finally over. Subspecies is done, and I'm never watching any of these movies ever again. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next time. There's one final episode left, which will go out on Halloween itself. So look forward to that. And,
unless you're a patron.
Unless you're a patron, in which case you'll get it the day before Halloween, and you'll get the second bonus episode for October on Halloween itself.
That sounds good to me.
It sounds great. Yeah. You get a second bonus for October because it's October, and also kind of a like, hey, we're sorry there wasn't one for like 10 months because Tim was on paternity leave, so have an extra one. And then throughout November we're doing our top 100 horror movies. We're returning to that after 6 years since we did it the last time. So that should be fun.
See where Subspecies makes the list.
It better not, Tim. It better not. I'll tell you right now. So we'll see you for that. Hopefully that all sounds like fun. This has been our thoughts on Subspecies 5 Blood Rise. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we'll see you next time.